Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast, episode 93 with Charlie and Justin. And we are recording via Zoom because Justin and I are in completely different states.
Yes.
Neither of which is in Ohio, I might add, too.
Right? Yeah.
And it's
So
not like
you
one of us
are,
left, both of us left. You're on vacation. I'm at a race. I'm in West Virginia. You are in South Carolina. So thankfully, with the evolution of technology, we're able to record our podcast.
yep, absolutely.
So how is sunny South Carolina treating you?
It's been awesome. Originally coming down here, the weather forecast with the tropical storms didn't look so good. It looked like we were going to get like 1 or 2 days on the beach, and the rest was going to be pretty bad weather. And we have had literally zero rain.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
And you've been down how long now?
I got here Saturday or Sunday morning at like 8 a.m. So almost 7 days.
And then when do you come back?
I leave tomorrow. I got to drop the girls off at the airport, and then I'm getting on the road about 10 tomorrow morning. So
Gotcha. Yeah, that works out pretty well. That's a nice, decently long vacation.
yes,
You've had the opportunity to have nice weather because I'm sure you guys have kind of fit in everything that you needed to, right?
yeah, it's been nice. This is our first year with the baby at the beach, and so we've got to experience she's terrified of the sand and the sun and the waves, and now she's like, she loves it. Like, I bet she would do the beach thing every day.
See, it's cool when kids are so young because, and I mean kid in the sense of even like up through their teenage years, because of how rapidly they're growing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's really cool to see that. Like, that's one of the benefits to being a teacher, and actually even more so to being, a trainer, is because you're with these kids for long periods of time. Like in school, I teach them for a year and then they go on, and I get to see them later on down the road and all the great things they've accomplished and stuff like that. But I don't actually physically see the process. I see the process for 1 year, and then I see some of the end results, so to speak. Whereas, like,
Right.
training the athletes, it's like you see the process every day. So it's really, really cool to see people, kids and specifically, but just people in general, progress through things. Because I think that that's one of the foundational pillars that we kind of discuss on this show all the time, is constant progress and trying to get better at things, which was why we would have the podcast in the first place. So I thought it was pretty cool that you mentioned that, just because you see it firsthand all the time.
Oh yeah, and it's so weird. Like, parenting in general for a first time parent, it's so weird and cool, and it's such an experience because like you said, growth is not like it's marginalized. Like, it's daily.
Yeah.
Like, she changes on the day. Like, her personality, her emotions. Now she's trying to crawl, and now she's trying to talk, and it's like everything is happening right in front of your eyes. Like, almost like morning to night. It's different sometimes.
And it's pretty
So
profound, or it's got to be profound and humbling, in a sense, that you have so much control over that growth. Actually,
yes,
you have complete control over that growth, because ultimately, like with the physical side, you control what goes into her body, what she eats, how often she eats, how she sleeps. So you control the physical, the mental, the emotional, all that stuff. And
right.
actually,
And that's,
go ahead.
I was gonna say that's funny you said that, because the controlling what she eats and when she sleeps and stuff, her sleep schedule's been off a little bit, obviously, because mom and dad have had later nights.
Uh-huh.
A lot of family around, a lot of people in and out of the room. So her sleep schedule's off a smidge. But I've had like to overcome a few hurdles with people already, like this week, because grandma wants to give her a sip of uh, some clear soda. I can't remember what it was. Ginger ale.
Okay.
And I was like, no. And she was like, why? It's not pop, it's ginger ale. And I'm like, that's pop. No. And then one of the other grandmother wanted to give her some ice cream. And I'm like, although it's not going to hurt her, I just don't want her to even know that exists yet. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't need that. It's not what she needs. And I don't want it. So, but like, overcoming those hurdles, and we did, because she didn't get to eat any of it. So
And like especially from like the emotional and mental side of things as well. Like coincidentally enough, you sent me a picture today of her wrapped in a No Excuse Nation shirt,
Yes.
like a blanket, and it kind of sparked a little bit of a deeper thought in my head about how kids at any age are almost at the willpower of those that oversee them. So like parents, teachers, coaches, we kind of dictate a lot of what their path in life is like because we kind of guide them accordingly. And that can be good or bad. I mean, there's like a ton of responsibility on our shoulders when we work with kids or athletes or students or whatever to make sure that we kind of guide them in the right direction. And to know that you have a child, a baby that's entirely under your control. So you can put thoughts of accomplishment, thoughts of progression, thoughts of self-actualization. You can put those into her head, or you could fill her with nonsense. And it's really, really cool. And I think that for me, just kind of thinking about it out loud, I feel like there would probably be a lot of anxiety with that.
There is, because you're always second guessing yourself. Like,
Uh-huh.
at dinner tonight, when her grandmother wanted to give her a scoop up, just a taste of her ice cream, and I was like, no, like absolutely not. There's like some anxiety there, because am I shorting her on an experience? I like that crossroad of, not crossroad, but like the checklist in my brain starts going, and gives you anxiety, because like I was thinking like, well, I mean, what's it gonna hurt? You know what I mean? And realistically, it's not gonna hurt anything. But the checklist for me was, in nature, all she gets until she can eat, until she has teeth, is breast milk.
Yeah.
So she doesn't need that. She doesn't even know that she wants that. So I want to keep it that way as long as I possibly can. Now, obviously, and like that's how I explained it to her. I said, you know, as time goes on, when she gets a little older, obviously, when we have gatherings and it's a special occasion, she can share an ice cream sundae with us. Cool. That's no big deal. I'm not worried about that. But right now, she doesn't even know she's missing out on that.
Yeah.
So I don't want I don't want an emotional reaction to food. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, there's a lot of anxiety, I guess, with it. I mean, obviously you can tell, like I'm constantly evaluating my thought process with what we allow her to do, what we allow other people to do with her. And it's like, am I shorting her? Am I not? Am I being crazy? You know what I mean? So like, yeah, the I guess the answer to that is yes. There's a lot of anxiety.
I feel like just because they're so fragile, and
Yes,
not only fragile in the literal sense, but fragile metaphorically speaking, like the way, or the way that their brain is, like they're very highly influenced. And then again, you have that locus of control where you're the person who's leading by example. And I
yeah,
remember
that
that.
you are the influence.
Sure. And I remember that before you had her, one of the things that you and I talked about, and you were pretty adamant about this for a long time, is wanting to raise her in a household that preached health first and foremost. Not just health in the sense of physical health, but health mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all those things.
Right, exactly. I wanted to be in an environment that breeds success, and that comes from healthy eating, healthy living, healthy sleep. You know, fitness first. Not fitness first as a sense of that's the only thing she's going to focus on, but I want her to know that it's not a chore to eat proper and work out and go for a walk. I don't want her to think that those things are like punishment or a chore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to raise my kid. I want to break the cycle as far as parenting goes. And I know that's a bold statement, and I'm probably going to catch some flack for that, but I really do. Like, everything I can do in my power to break the cycle that every kid has to eat chicken nuggets and french fries because that's the easiest thing, or they have to sport a tablet at the age of 2 because they'll cry otherwise. Those are things that I'm not going to do. We have a tablet that we will utilize at a later date for learning, but she's not going to walk around watching YouTube and whatever she wants. Like, it's just not going to be something that happens.
And one of the
Same
ways that,
thing. Go
yeah,
ahead.
one of the ways that I've been living my life lately, and I've had this discussion with a few people that I'm pretty close to, is thinking of life and the things that we put into our lives, whether it's food or entertainment or hobbies that we do or people. You always need to look at it as like adding or subtracting a value. So
Right.
anything or anyone or any food that you put into your life, it should be adding value to your life. So if I eat
Exactly.
a food, I would like to think that it's adding value to me. Not only is it satiating me, but then there's physiological benefits that I would get from eating certain foods like vegetables. There are micronutrients and specific items in that food that are going to help me. So I can specifically go out and quantify and show you objectively how this food is bringing value into my life. And then obviously you can do that with people, you can do that with hobbies. And I find myself kind of going through like this again, like you alluded to, like the daily checklist stuff. And if I find myself doing something for a long period of time, I ask myself, like, how is this bringing value to me? So a good example is I don't watch TV. And I'm not one of those people who's anti TV by any means. I just truly don't have time for TV, and it's not something that I feel the need to prioritize time for. So then I don't do it.
Yeah.
I would say
I,
that the only time I watch TV is like certain sporting events, but other than that, there's no TV time. And the way that I look at it is because the other day I caught myself watching TV, and after a few minutes, it popped in my head, like, this is bringing no value to you. Like, even though it's only 5 minutes, you could spend this 5 minutes doing something productive. And oftentimes we look at television, for example, as something that's relaxing. And just because, in its, I'm not wanting to say that you shouldn't watch TV and you should be working the whole time, because work and value are different. Like, work is a way to bring value, but there are times where I need to de escalate and down regulate my high energy for a minute and learn to sit back and relax. But you can also relax in ways that are going to bring you value, something that's going to
right.
bring productivity to your life. And I think that when you mentioned like the iPad thing, like, I'm sure knowing you that the way you'll use it are for like enrichment purposes or things that are going to bring value into her life versus just using it for entertainment basis.
Right. Exactly. So, like, one thing we use it for, and we don't really use the tablet so much because I don't really like that association of here, use the tablet thing. Like, that's going to be down the road. But one of the things we use TV for with her is Coco Melon. It's like a new cartoon,
Okay.
and it's all educational. So it's adding. They're not adding, but like counting and colors and food groups and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So it's just, it's allowing her to get some of that cartoon time because almost all kids get some cartoon time. Like it's something that they enjoy, but it's not SpongeBob SquarePants or Bubble Guppies. You know what I mean? Like it's not those cartoons that kids watch and they literally just zombie out on.
Mhm.
It's educational. So like that's the kind of stuff that we want to do with our daughter is everything be educational or fitness or health or and then also relate fun to all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that's the most important thing is whenever you have a child, I feel like they're going to be inclined to doing things that they like, obviously. So, yeah, I was sitting in professional development because we go back to teaching on Monday. So, we have like 3 days of in service that we do where we sit in like professional development meetings and have grade level meetings, and we have building meetings, school district wide meetings. And one of the presentations that somebody from the educational society came and talked to us about was the importance of forming relationships with students naturally. And one of the things that she mentioned was that no one, not just kids, but no one's going to be able to learn from someone they don't like. So if there's
Right.
somebody that you don't like, you're not going to be receptive to the message. You're not going to be trying to actively pay attention. Even their voice might annoy you. So really, you're
Right.
not going to get much from them. And you can say the same thing about any activity. If you're not enjoying the activity, you don't like the activity, you're much more willing to or you're probably likely going to get a lot less from it. So, like, one thing that I try to do, and then there's times where this is, I don't want to say impossible, but highly, highly improbable or unlikely that you'll make every class fun. Like every day, every lesson, you try to make it fun. Now, that's not going to happen. The reality is you're not going to make every class every day fun. But I try to do that because I think that if the kids are having fun, they're going to be more engaged, more receptive to the message, and they're going to consequently they're going to learn a little bit better, you know? So I
Right.
feel like if you can make anything in life fun, like, you know, I don't want to go off on a side tangent here about that, but like we were talking the other day at the gym, a few of my friends and I told someone, one of the other workers at the gym, I said, you know what? You know, I like when people credit me for hard work as far as like bodybuilding or strength training or any of like the training that I do for myself goes. I said, but really, like, that's not hard work. Like, I could put like the athlete cliche speak, like, oh, I'm just in here grinding, getting it in, you know, and I like that stuff. But that's the point right there, is I like that stuff. I enjoy
Right.
waking up super early and going on a run and then hitting the gym. Now, it's kind of difficult, I guess, physically, but mentally, I enjoy going to sleep knowing that I get the opportunity to wake up in the morning and go do that stuff. And I told the
Yes.
person I was talking to, I said that I'm not the type of person that deserves credit. The type of people that deserve credit are the people who, you know, start a weight loss journey or make a lot of progress in the gym, and they're not, quote, gym people like I am, because they don't like it. A lot of people, when they first go to the gym, they hate it. Those are the people that deserve credit because it's difficult for them to do it, and they still do it. I told my buddy, I said, you know, I can't imagine coming to the gym for several hours a week and hating it. It's hard enough and I like it, let alone hating it. Think about how hard it would be to push yourself in all those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be miserable.
Yeah, life
Yeah,
is
and
a
that's
lot better
why,
when you have fun.
like, and that translates to adult, like, you kind of already have translated it to adult life, but like working a job you hate. No wonder people that go to get up, like the people that wake up in the morning because they hate their job and they're mad. No wonder they're mad when they wake up in the morning because they hate their job. They hate what
Yeah,
they're doing.
absolutely.
It's like if you wake up in the morning and you get to go to do the thing that you love second to your family, like you've hit the lottery. You're already rich.
I mean, that in and of itself would somehow be warped into almost everybody's definition of success, I would think.
Exactly.
Now,
I think
speaking
that
of
is
that,
like the best definition of success.
I think so. Yeah, is doing something, you know, when I try to come up with a definition for it, the one that I keep going back to is something in your life that brings value to other people that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
Like if I can provide value to other people and myself and I'm having fun doing it, then that would be the most successful environment to be in. If I can if I can be happy, make other people happy while doing that, then what more could you really ask for? But I like how
Yeah. There's
there
no.
was some little nuance that you mentioned there, and I want to go to a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, I kind of have a piggyback story off of something that you said that you didn't even realize you said. So let's go to a commercial break, and then we'll talk more when we come back. As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well. And we are back from our commercial break. So Justin, prior to the break, you said something very, very quickly and unknowingly, and you said something about getting to wake up and go to a job. And it sparked one of my thoughts that I had from a presentation the other day during our in-service again. I was watching a video of Ernie Johnson, who is an NBA analyst. He's a basketball analyst on TNT. And Ernie Johnson has a very, very unique perspective on life. He's been through a lot. I know that he has a severe special needs student, or a special needs son who I believe was adopted. And they told him that he was no good and that he wouldn't want that son. I believe he was adopted. And I believe it is muscular dystrophy that he has. Um, and I'll have to send you the speech. And for anybody who wants to learn about it or hear it, I believe he was speaking to the University of Alabama's football team. So look up Ernie Johnson, because his speech was wonderful. One of the big takeaways I had from it was he talked about finding a get to job, not a got to job.
Yes.
And he talks about waking up and saying, this is a job that I get to do. I get to go here and be with these people. I get to teach the kids. I get to train the athletes. I get to drive. I get to do this. Not, I got to do this. And it's funny how one letter replacing the O and the E, like interchanging those can have such a huge, huge impact on the meaning of how you view your job.
Right.
And I feel like any job, really, you can call it a get to job or a got to job, depending on a lot of the circumstance or depending on what you're really looking at. Like the way that I view it is, think about this. So when you look at your body, there's two ways to look at your body, especially as a bodybuilder. You can look at the negatives or you can look at the positives. And when people look at you, they generally tend to see all the positives. So they say, oh, you have a really nice back, or you have a really big chest, or your arms are really shredded, or whatever. Whereas when you self-analyze, you look at all the negatives. And you don't see the positives, you only see the negatives, because that's really what you're looking at. And I feel like your job can be the same way, or your life can be the same way. There's so many things to be thankful for that you can be positive towards. But if your mind is geared towards like a negative inclination, where that's just innately how you are by nature, you tend to be a little bit more of a negative person, that's going to be really, really hard for you to see the positives, because you're not looking for them and they're going to remain like hidden in plain sight.
Right. And,
So
like,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of relate to that from this week, actually. So my wife and I and our child were sitting in the surf, and somebody snapped a picture of us. And Sutton, our daughter, had this big smile on her face. My wife had a big smile on her face. And quite frankly, so did I. But they captioned the picture. They said, look how happy you three are. And they sent that picture to me.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't even read the caption. All I did was look at myself in the picture, and I didn't have my shirt on, and I wasn't sitting with really good posture, and I wasn't, doing the making sure I look better stance, the way I sit and stand.
Yep.
And all I did was I was instantly disgusted. And then I read the picture, and I'm like, man, like I read the comment, and I'm like, man, like, why do you do that to yourself? Like, I get it, but I don't at the same time. And so, yeah, I understand kind of what you're saying there.
And how do you go about like changing your mindset to be one that's positive thinking? So we always hear about that. Everybody knows how important positive thinking is, but how do you go about it? Because I think that everybody who thinks positively initially, they do it when there's positive things to think about in their eyes. So like if everything's going swell for you, it's very easy to think positive and block out the negative. But the minute something happens, like turmoil happens or something, I don't want to use the word catastrophic because that's a little bit strong, that something difficult or an obstacle happens in your life that you need to overcome, all of a sudden people lose that positive mindset. And it's like, man, it's crazy how we as humans, or at least I speak for myself, I don't want to speak for other people, but it's amazing how some things that are so little and trivial can like completely derail my mentality. It's like I spent all day trying to be positive and focusing on these positive things. And then one single thing happens and it just absolutely decimates all the positive thought work that I put in for the day. And then it's like it's like the gym. The analogy I can use is the gym. Like it takes so long to make progress, and then it seems like you can blow it all in a couple weeks.
Right.
Like years worth of work can just disappear so quickly. And it's just question that I'm constantly battling with is how do I remain positive in negative times? You know, how do I maintain that? Because it's easy to be positive when everything's going right. That's where you see the social media posts when everything's
Yeah.
going great in a person's life and they talk to you about, you know, being positive and seeing the brighter side of things. It's like, yeah, well, what do you have going on in your life that you're having difficulty looking at it positively? That's when you know if you're a positive person or not. Like you're on vacation right now, you're with your family, you got a lot of good stuff going on. So you could say, yeah, it's always important to think positive. But if you go home and, you know, heaven forbid this were to happen, if you go home and you lose your job, then all of a sudden, are you still going to be posted on social media talking about positivity? Are you going to look at this in a positive
Right.
light, or are you going to freak out like every other human would? You know?
Yeah. Am I going to live the example that I try to set and the only thing that comes to mind is Jocko Willink. He has like a clip. It's a speech that he gives about good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the title of it, is good. And it's and every time I say the word good, I kind of go to that Jocko voice because it really makes me think about it. Like, oh, you gained weight, good. You broke your leg, good. Now you know how not to do something, or now you know what not to do. And that's like positivity 101, but like I still don't know it. And like I think I watch that video every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and I still don't know exactly how to do it. Now I do know how to tell somebody else to do it. You know what I mean? Like every time somebody comes to me with a really big, major, catastrophic issue that they're going through, I'm like, good. Like seriously, like really, is it that bad? You still have your life, the ability to breathe and make cognitive thought. You still have your family. You know, like, is it that bad? But I don't know how to, like, I guess I don't know how to compute that for myself sometimes.
Well, I think that
And
it's like, you know, when you talk about being positive, I think that it's like hard work. The reason I bring
right,
that up is because I have that conversation with people from time to time, and I'll say people as just a general pronoun, like they. A lot of people work hard when it's convenient for them. Like they
mhm.
work hard. Like if you go for a run, it's easy to do it when it's 70 and cloudy. Are
Yeah,
you running when it's 120 degrees? Are you running when it's 30 degrees and snowing? Are you running in the rain? Are you running in the heat? Are you running in the wind? Are you running in the hail? Like when are you working hard
where's
when
your
it's
line?
inconvenient for you?
Right. I
And
agree. You know,
and I
I
think
said
that
that a lot.
positivity is the same way.
Yeah, I think it's funny like that you use the running analogy because like when I was training for a triathlon, all my running was prescribed to be on a treadmill or on an indoor track.
Uh-huh.
And I always ran in the weather outside because I felt like I needed to do something that was hard because it's hard work and I want to make it hard because anybody can get on a treadmill and run.
Sure.
It's controlled. Not and run. I use the word run in a really lightly because not everybody can quote unquote run, but you can get on the treadmill and do something more than you would walking to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, you know, I always use that as a base is like you have to work hard all the time. Like if it's worth doing, you might as well do it to your best.
Yeah, I think that like we know that consistent habits are what's going to make people successful, and I think that that supersedes just it's not just the physical habits or the activities that you do, it's the mindset that you're in.
Right.
A champion's mindset is consistent. Like when we talk about, I'm just thinking of hyper competitive people. Someone that naturally comes to mind is Michael Jordan. Like, and for
Yes.
those people who have never seen The Last Dance, the documentary on Michael Jordan that came out last year, it's like a 10-part series that ESPN put out. It is absolutely phenomenal, and everybody needs to watch it. Even if you're not a basketball fan, it absolutely needs to be watched. And when you talk about someone like Michael Jordan, who's hyper competitive, he was hyper competitive all the time. Like there are stories about how they were playing cards as a family and he cheated to beat his grandma. And
Yeah.
it's but that's what makes him great is he can't turn that off. That champion, dominate, win at all costs. obviously there are some pros and cons that come with it, but the pros are so high because he's like that all the time. This is my mentality. This is how I am. And then it's easy to have good habits when you have a good mindset. So I feel like for you and I, and for our listeners too, one of the things that we should probably strive to do all the time is just have good habits in our brain, not just good habits in our daily life. Because we always talk about good habits like, drink water, eat your vegetables, exercise, practice meditation, form good relationships. But what are we doing within our own head that are consistent habits? It's not just
Yeah.
the physical.
Yeah. And I think it's, we also always talk about building good relationships. And, I don't think we've ever said like build good relationships is the thing, but like surrounding yourself by good people and people that you want to be like or be,
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with success, you will have success. But building a good relationship with the man in the mirror is important too.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
you have to, I'm a big firm believer on you have to be able to wake up in the morning, get a hot shower, wipe the condensation off the mirror and love that guy looking back at you or that woman looking back at you or whoever. Like Dave Ramsey says, get comfortable with the guy you shave with.
Yep.
It's or David Goggins, all these people that talk about success. Dave Ramsey, David Goggins, Jocko Willink are people that I not idolize, but I follow, and they all talk about getting comfortable with the guy in the mirror, and being okay with who you're looking back at. So like you have to have a good relationship with yourself, like, and that's something I struggle with is, you know, Charlie sees me as successful. My wife sees me as successful. People that listen to this podcast may or may not, but I don't. And sometimes I have to reel that back. And I wish I knew how to explain that better because I'm sure there's other people that deal with that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that's the people that I want to try to teach because I think if I can help them learn it, maybe I can help myself learn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that goes along with that is the irony is that you're saying that you don't feel super successful, but I think that in and of itself is something that successful people are made of is, and we've talked about it with all our guests over well, I can almost say years plural because we're almost on
Yeah.
2 years now, but over the year plus almost 2 years, we found consistency with our guests in a message. Like we've talked about family before and support system that all of them had, obviously hard work, but I feel like one of the other underlying features that all of our successful guests that we've interviewed have had is not ever thinking that they're great in the sense of they're at the finish line.
Right.
Like I don't
Don't
think
get
we've ever
comfortable.
talked to a guest on our show that hasn't had an idea of where they're heading next.
Yeah, because that's a scary person that, it's scary. It's a scary feeling when you feel like you've arrived.
Uh-huh.
I've dealt with it. I've lost 226 pounds in a year. I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Like that feeling of arrival or you don't have anywhere else to go is a dangerous feeling. And most successful people don't put themselves in dangerous situations.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that
So
that's something that we can kind of go on to the next episode with is for you and I this week. And you can, again, like we've been doing lately, extend the quote, the challenge to the listeners as well is find out things in your life that you're complacent with. And I don't want to say satisfied with because there may be things in your life that you are satisfied with and that they can remain the same, which allows you to prioritize other things. For example, you can be satisfied with your job. Now, there's always opportunities to make more money or be more successful in the workplace. But if you're satisfied with how your job is, maybe that'll afford you the opportunity to focus a little bit more on your relationship because maybe that's an area that you're not satisfied with or complacent with.
right.
So look for things. We should look for things in our life for this next week that we feel we've gotten complacent on, whether it's our health, or our physical appearance or our financial standing or a particular relationship, not just with a spouse, like a husband or a wife, but maybe even a cousin that you
Coworker.
haven't talked to, or a coworker, or anybody. So let's make a challenge, and I'll do this myself, is let's make a challenge to one another to go out and find avenues in our life or things in our life that we've become complacent with that we need to stop being complacent with.
I love the idea. That could be almost a weekly thing because it happens so fast. And thinking about it can stop it from happening.
And I'm sure that if you think truly objectively about it, you could identify several different things. I don't think anybody who's critical thinking based and analytical enough would have much difficulty sitting and finding things in their life that they've gotten complacent with.
Right. I agree.
It would be pretty easy exercise, but also probably a pretty humiliating or humbling exercise as well.
Maybe even both. Both.
You're a little bit embarrassed with, wow, I let this slide, I let that slide. These are things that I've gotten complacent with, and I need to change it going forward. So I think that would be a great challenge to our listeners before we close up shop for the day.
Yeah. And I think if you come up with something, and this is just me thinking out loud here, if you come up with something, or if I come up with something that you feel embarrassed about, don't feel scared to tell somebody.
No.
Unless absolutely. You don't have a plan to fix it.
Yep.
Or have the thought process to make a plan to fix it, because you don't always have the plan. The roadmap's not always made. But if you have the plan to fix something, that's a start.
Yeah, you better be one of those two things. You better have it fixed, have a plan to fix it, or have a plan to make a plan to fix it.
Exactly, yes.
If you don't have one of those three things going on, then you're complacent, and it's probably not a good situation for whatever avenue you're trying to pursue.
Yep.
All right. So with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This has been episode 93. As always, we appreciate everyone's listenership, and make sure you go out and find some parts of your life that you've been complacent with and go change them. And we'll talk to you next week.
Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge and take it all. I'm born to be untamable, go right to the edge and